I bring you yet another Hideaway Tidbit. And today's Tidbit is brought to you by our corporate members, Bullock Telephone Corporation and Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Kennedy Realty, longtime fine business neighbors in Bullock County. Today, I want to ask you a question. What does bamboo, Henry Ford, and Savannah Avenew have in common? That's our subject matter. Well, the answer is Dr. R.J.H. DeLoach. Dr. DeLoach was a professor at the Teachers College on the edge of town. He was born in Bullock County in 1873 and grew up a few miles west of Statesboro. He went to high school in Millen and graduated from my alma mater, the University of Georgia, in 1898. He taught in both Statesboro and Swainsboro after college. He then served in the United States Indian Service in the Southwest. But he returned to Georgia, UGA, to teach at the Agricultural Experiment Station, which still exists today and serves a very important mission in our state. He did much work on the boll weevil problem in Georgia. After serving 16 years at UGA, he moved to Chicago to direct the Educational Bureau of the Armour Corporation. Armour was a family-owned company and leading U.S. firm in the meatpacking industry. At one point, they had over 50,000 employees. The company ventured into pharmaceuticals and soap manufacturing. They introduced dial soap in 1948. Eventually, Dr. DeLoach returned to Statesboro and Savannah Avenew. He taught at the college. He had an extensive private library which was housed in a separate building behind his home at 319 Savannah Avenue. I remember this library well. It is adjacent to my land on the avenue. Also, I must point out that this home was built in the early 1900s by Cecil Brannan, son of our first mayor, A.J. Brannan, and granddaddy to society members Cecil Brannan, Claude Howard, and Dottie Garvin. You got it? He was the first president of the Georgia Ornithological Society, and in 1933 hosted William Finley here in Statesboro. Mr. Finley was the person who convinced President Theodore Roosevelt to establish federal bird reservations. Dr. DeLoach's work and interests made him close friends with some of America's leading citizens. He became friends with naturalist and poet John Burroughs in 1906. Dr. DeLoach visited Mr. Burroughs at his home on the Hudson River named Slabsides. When he returned to Statesboro, he built a similar, very rustic retreat named Beechwood, which was located on a bluff on our Mill Creek. Here is a sign from Beechwood. Through his friendship with Burroughs, Dr. DeLoach became companions with Henry Ford, Harvey Firestone, and Thomas Edison. He joined in their vagabond trips in the years 1916, 1917, and 1918. He also entertained them in Statesboro on Savannah Avenue and at the Beechwood Retreat. I must tell you my favorite joke about Statesboro. Dr. DeLoach had some guests in town and he was driving a Model T Ford. He needed some gas, so he went downtown and he asked the young attendant, he said, "Son, who invented this car?" And the young man said, "Dr. DeLoach, of course, Henry Ford." And Dr. DeLoach said, "Well, son, sitting right here next to me is Henry Ford." He then said, "Son, who invented the electric light bulb?" And the young man said, Dr. DeLoach, everyone knows that's Thomas Edison. And Dr. DeLoach said, well, son, right here in the back seat, I'd like for you to meet Thomas Edison. Well, the young boy by this time is just totally overwhelmed. He looks back further in the back seat and he says, Dr. DeLoach, I guess you're going to tell me that's Santa Claus. Well, we all know that was John Burroughs with his long white beard. Isn't that the most wonderful story, joke, tale that you've ever heard about Statesboro? The Vagabonds introduced America to road trips and changed modern life as it is known. So, who or what are the Vagabonds? In 1914, Henry Ford and John Burroughs visited their friend Thomas Edison at his summer home in Fort Walton, Florida. They did an overnight camping trip into the Everglades. The next year, Harvey Firestone joined them, and they decided to call themselves the Vagabonds. These famous road trips continued until 1925, with the exception of the war years. They traveled with, of course, an entourage of chefs and butlers and engineers, etc. This elite fraternity had a serious purpose embedded in their elaborate trips: to examine the condition of America's roadways and to improve the practicality of automobile travel. The newspaper coverage of these trips was extensive. The summer trip by automobile became a desired element of American life. So, your summer vacation had a very close tie to Savannah Avenue in Statesboro, GA. My grandparents lived right next door to Dr. DeLoach at 317 Savannah Avenue. With the onset of World War I, Henry Ford was looking for a substitute for rubber to make his tires. He thought bamboo might be the answer. He planted bamboo at his home in Richmond Hill, and he and Dr. DeLoach planted it on Savannah Avenue. His friend Thomas Edison even experimented with it when making the first light bulb. The bamboo gardens in Savannah played a part in this research as well. Well, I don't think the bamboo ever became tires for our doughboys in World War I, but I do know for a fact that the bamboo exists today. I have 3.5 acres on the avenue, and the back two has several kinds of bamboo. A low-growing, very invasive type will be here on Savannah Avenue when the apocalypse comes. Thanks so much, and bye.